Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you happen to be. Thank you for joining me and giving me your attention. My name is Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams, and I'm calling this segment today specifically Friday with Phoenix because my partner and co host and sister from another mister, Reverend Alyssa, is not able to be with me today. And so y'all are lucky enough to just get me. Again, my name is Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams. I am broadcasting from the beautiful Buffalo, New York, where the weather is finally consistently phenomenal until we get to this weekend where apparently it's supposed to get cold again. But it's been consistently decent over the past couple of days. Love it. It's been up in the 70s and the 80s, and I'm so here for it. Last time when Reverend Alyssa and myself were here, we talked a little bit about a basic Corellian understanding of demons, lower vibrational energies and spirits and stuff like that. And we talked about them in terms of spirits that bring misfortune or or whose vibrations are responsible for unfortunate events in our lives, and how we interpret that karmically and on the grand scheme of things, recognizing that even demons or trickster spirits or spirits that are ghosts are tethered to this plane with unfinished, but however you want to talk about them, they do serve a karmic purpose. And it has historically been the responsibility of the priesthood or the clergyhood to understand how to communicate with these spirits, as well as how to appease them and get their influence away from the community. Uh, a bunch of people, a single individual, groups, organizations, it's the clergyhood's responsibility to know how to communicate with these energies and know how to appease them or get them to flee. I do want to continue that conversation. However, I want to continue it specifically with Reverend Alyssa. That way, we have a very consistent and a representative kind of discussion about it. Because I happen to think that how I contemplate these energies might be different from the way that other people contemplate these energies, and the way that I communicate with them, and the way that I make offerings to them, and the way that I do rituals with them and for them might be a lot different than what other people who are on a pagan, Wiccan, Corellian path might think. It's tempted to go into more discussion about that now, but I do not want to do that. I'm gonna wait for Sis to show up. But before I get into what I want to talk about today, I want to go ahead and see about our sponsors real quick. So let me see if I could get our first sponsor up. All right, so big thank you to Equinox for being one of our sponsors. Love that for us. Thank you, Equinox. The thing that I do want to talk about today is about magic, of course, but I've been noticing in some of the Facebook groups and on some of the Snapchat videos and like TikToks and stuff like that, that folks have been having some questions about what to do if your magic doesn't get you the results that you were hoping for. Or what does it mean if you do all your magic, you set up everything, like your setup is pristine, but for some reason the results fall short of an expectation? I love this question. I love the fact that folks are vocalizing this experience. And a big shout out, like, I'm not going to say who said these things or which groups I was in, but a huge shout out to the folks who came to a community of practitioners with this level of vulnerability. You know, they're like, hey, I cleansed everything. Everything was charged. I prayed. I had my ingredients. I had my offerings. I did the stuff. I did the meditating, all of that jazz. Even went through all of the trouble to make sure I didn't look back when I left my stuff at the crossroads. I did all the trouble to get it out of my mind. And, you know, I saw it start to happen. I saw things started to shift and change, but it just fell short of the new reality that I had been working for. What I say to understand this is there's a few things that could be going on, and I'm going to talk about the first one. The veil is a very powerful construct that we have created for ourselves. I'm going to say that again. The veil is a very important or powerful construct that we have created for ourselves. And I say us, our lower selves has created the veil, and it is one of the ways that prevents us from remembering how dynamic and divine we are on a solar spiritual level. Whenever we seek to do magic, we are already being influenced by the veil. Whenever we believe that we are experiencing a type of lack, we are already being influenced by the veil. These lower vibrational experiences, whereas I'd say, like, you don't get much more dense than the physical world, you know? Right? Like, we in physical bodies, like, we vibrating basically as low as it gets. I mean, we're not lead, right? So, like, we're not that dense and that heavy, although some folks appear to be sometimes. We are at that lower vibrational place. And if we want to move beyond the power of the veil, we have to raise our vibrations just a little bit. If we can raise our vibration so that we are thinking, viewing, listening, speaking, and moving from a place in the astral, well, our vibration is a little bit higher and we have more access to a whole bunch more spiritual substance, knowledge, experiences. It's a whole different world to become aware of once you sharpen your ability to function in the astral. As Corellians, we contemplate several of the other planes of existence: the emotional, the mental, the solar, the monadic, the divine. Like, we contemplate and try to make our way into as many of the higher planes of existence as we can. And we utilize our relationship with our ancestors and gods and God to help us do that. Carrying in this idea into all of your magic that, hey, the veil has got you convinced that you are experiencing a lack. Connect with the highest part of yourself, the highest vibration that you can connect with. Use your spirit guide, or utilize your spirit guide to help you, utilize your ancestors to help you, utilize your relationship with God to help you. Vibrate just above that a little bit and reassess what the actual lack is. You might find that assessing your situation in the physical realm from your place in the astral realm or the emotional realm or the mental realm might give you some more insight and clarity as to what's going on with you karmically. And that's one thing that I would like to encourage everyone to think about. And I do want to say hello to the two Janets in the chat right now. Thank y'all both for watching. I'm glad that y'all have lent me your attention for a little bit. And if you have any questions about why magic might fizzle out or might not produce the impacts that you want, feel free to put them in the chat. Do my best to address them and answer them. The other thing to think about is that when you were doing your magic, when you were designing your spell, gathering your ingredients, the veil and or your shadow self was obscuring what it was you were absolutely looking for or working for. You may have thought you wanted a better job, but really what you wanted was for your current job to pay you more money. If you are not clear on exactly what it is that you want by doing magic, the results might not be up to expectation. There's a spell in this grimoire that I have. Some of y'all might recognize it. In this spell, or in this book, there is a spell to know my own true will. And it goes like this. O higher self, I ask you please, look into my heart and see my real desire, my truest will in this situation. Before I start to work my will, give me the insight that I need to manifest what's best for me so I will want what I receive. My thanks and love I give to you, O higher self, forever true. As I have asked, so shall it be, in light and love and harmony. Hello, Kayleen from Australia. Thanks for joining. I just got done reciting an incantation from this grimoire right here, and it's meant to help us know our true will. And I am formulating this as before you cast a spell, before you do a working, before you start to gather these energies and mystical forces, do this spell to know what your true will is. What is it that you are actually hoping for? What is it that you are actually wanting? So that when the spell is said and done, you find yourself completely in love with, completely infatuated with, completely satisfied and grateful for what you got as a result of that working. I suggest doing that spell. And you can do that spell with a number of different things. So, for example, you can set that up as a whole ritual itself, depending on what your, hey Renee, how are you? Depending on what your affiliations are, you might think about your divining spirits as mercurial spirits, like they're usually messengers for the gods. And their color could be represented by orange if you're Kabbalistic. Um, and maybe the number is like 9, maybe it's 8, I can't remember off the top of my head, but like gather your appropriate number of orange candles, you invoke your appropriate divinity who's the messenger of the gods, you send your prayer up with some incense, and then you can cast some cards. And depending on the matrix that you use, and I know like a real famous and a really comprehensive one is the Celtic Cross, which gives you a big look at a bunch of things that could be impacting your situation or will impact your situation. But, in any spread where there's a position in the spread that represents your fears, like pay attention to that. Like, what are you afraid of and why is that driving you to do the magic? Any spread that has a position for what your hopes are, pay attention to that. What do you hope to achieve or receive by doing this magic? Blessings to you, Ed Hubbard. Thank you for checking in off of Facebook. If there is a spot in the spread for what you really, really want to happen, after doing that spell, after doing that chant, or in the message, in as it pertains to this ritual, pay attention to that. That's going to be the thing that really illuminates you. And if that is a symbol on a tarot card, that confuses you, then contemplate that for a second before you move forward. Why is the divine telling you that what you really hope for is one thing, but what you really hope for is another thing? In those moments, faith becomes very, very important. And it's an opportunity for you to align yourself with, are you a spiritual person? Are you going to trust in this oracle that has come through your cards? The same cards that maybe you deal for other people and you want them to trust what it says? Or are you going to revert back to like maybe your ego and think, oh no, I know what's best. I know what's going on in my own mind. I'm going to completely ignore the fact that I have unconscious and subconscious biases and so on and so forth. The whole point of, doing the divination is that you get to reflect on the situation, on the environment, the causes and the impacts from a third eye view. You get to step out of and away from yourself and get the information from your higher self. So in those moments where the cards or the runes kind of don't really reflect what you think you hope for, that's an opportunity for you to put faith and trust into your higher self and higher power. Like, okay, I think I want a better job with a better title, but you're telling me what I really want is encapsulated in the 10 of Cups. All right, so I really want to be emotionally validated and feel great while I'm at work. All right, so then you change your magic and you do magic that, hi, Hannah from Sweden, thanks for stopping in. But you do magic to increase that emotional security and that emotional validation at work, and start to maybe listen out for your bosses or supervisors or coworkers complimenting you more, talking about your strengths more. And with that little change in the environment, you might find that you fall back in love with your job. No need to leave, no need to start all over, no need to move your 401k, no need to cash out your vacation time or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe that it is very important that you know what you really, really want before you do any kind of magic. And that will help you better assess how successful your working actually was. For example, if you thought that you wanted a new job that paid more, but your oracle told you that you wanted to have better relationships with people at work, and you put your trust into what the oracle says and you do work to improve the relationships with the people at work, and you do that magic and you start to notice, okay, coworkers are now inviting you out to lunch when they're hanging out as groups, or certain people are seeking you out for your opinion because they know you have a certain level of expertise. You might find that other opportunities in leadership open up because of the relationships that you have built at work. So not only are you going to get a new title or a new job, but you get to stay in the same place that you've been at for X amount of time, continuing to nurturing the relationships that are now nurturing you. Janet has asked, is it wise to write out what you want before you start a ritual or a spell? Absolutely. Write it out, journal it out. Well, thank you, Hannah. But yes, write it out, journal it out. That could even be a component of the spell. You can turn your specific request into a sigil, and that can absolutely be a part of the magic and a part of the spell. So yes, you can. And you can also use that as a way to reflect on what it is that you are actually asking for. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and give us our last sponsor for today. Uncle Don's Metaphysical and Magic
Ready
Auction.
to unlock
Thank
the
you for your
secrets of the
sponsorship.
universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's metaphysical, and magic auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
Excellent, excellent. Look at that. I'm getting so good at these transitions back and forth between the sponsors and like this video. It's getting good, y'all. Thanks for your patience over the past couple of weeks while I like really sorted out how to do this. Kayleen has asked in the chat, would shadow work be part of good preparation as well? You know what? The spell that I was just reading you, the ritual that I just described, where like you do this incantation and you do the cards, that is shadow work. So yes, absolutely, shadow work is 100%. I say 100% required before magic. Do a reading, check in with something other than your own ego or my own ego or anyone's own ego. Check in with the spirit guides and make sure that what you're moving towards is going to lead you to the best karmic outcome that you want. Because also remember that certain things that we experience them as lack or misfortune or what have you, but really we account for something karmically, or we are forcing our communities to account for something karmically. So, for example, someone asked me, what do you think is the karmic reason that someone could be born with a disability? Any kind of disability. Like, what could they have done in their life that was so wrong that they are born with a disability? What bad karma could they possibly have? And I say, nay, 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 nay. Your ego teaches you that someone born with a disability is a bad thing and therefore must be a result of bad karma. However, I say being born with a disability, the more severe, the better, means that the community now is tasked with supporting that life as best as we can, because we all have the ability and resources together to make sure that this one person who is unable has everything that they need. So they got the good karma that had them born into a place where we got to wait on them hand and foot. We got to do things to make sure that their life is good. We are working off our bad karma by serving those who are unable. It is not a mark of bad karma to be born with a disability. It's our own ego and our own ableism that classifies that as bad. So that's why I think about that. But the other situations, like we got a car accident, we lost a job, our partner cheated on us, unfortunately, a miscarriage, like these things are happening to us for karmic reasons, and they might not even be related to us in this life. I'm glad that that resonated with you, Kayleen, because I am very, very, very strong about that. So thank you for that feedback. But the stuff that happens to us, it might not even be about this life. So what if you were a bully when you were in 5th grade? You might not even be in a place to even contend with that yet karmically, depending on what happened in your previous life. But do you know how you can get a handle on why any of these unfortunate situations are happening to begin with? Is by consulting your oracles, your clergy, reaching out to your higher selves and spirit guides and what have you. And doing this regularly will change how you utilize magic. In the omnibus, we got a bunch of what I will call conditions, and there's a spell for each of these conditions. And what do I mean by condition? So we got spell in here to change luck, have a spell in here for good fortune, has a spell in here for healing, for inspiration, to get a job, love, money, passion, releasing things, success, banishing negativity, being beautiful, getting married, ending relationships, losing weight. All of these are examples of conditions that folks might want to do magic for. Going on. As we continue into this work, we get away from some of the condition magics and we move into magics that absolutely have much more to do with karma and like easing ourselves into the ongoing practice of being responsible for ourselves. There's an absolution magic, There's calling the cosmic judge. There's a circle of justice. There's a karmic balance. There's a fool's awakening. There's the emperor's challenge, or excuse me, the empress's challenge and the emperor's command. There's the hierophant's challenge. So what I will leave off or move into conclusion with, could the details of books be added to the YouTube video description or as a comment later? I will do my best to try to figure that out. I will do my best to figure that out. Thank you, Kayleen. But right now, this is Reverend Don's Super Omnibus of Magical Incantations and Invocations for All Occasions. This one in particular is the special commemorative edition that was made for the Corellian High Clergy. And it came out a couple of years ago. Let me see if 2023. So this came out 2 years ago. March of 2023. So like almost exactly 2 years ago. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So when it comes to doing magic for conditions, a job, a relationship, success, luck, what have, gambling, those are conditions where we feel that we are at a lack and that we would like to request a changing condition from the universe. As you get confident with your magic, as you get proficient with the stuff that you do, you will start to find that there are bigger issues that you want to use your magic on. And it will relate to the things that your soul has been experiencing and witnessing throughout the wonderful, magnificent millions of lifetimes that you have had and the millions of other spirits and beings that you have been interacting with, going all the way back from the inception of your soul. Janet says that they use their omnibus all the time. It's handy. This is a handy tool. And I'm very glad that we were able to get it in a format because, like, for me, like, these are what the pages look like. It's totally possible to just go ahead and, what was I want to do? Go ahead and just add the ingredients that you use for this spell here. To add the candles, the number of candles, to add which divinities that you called upon when you use these invocations or what have you. So this is absolutely a versatile tool. And it's hardcover, so that means that if candle wax gets on it, you can wipe it off a whole lot easier. Not the same for some of the other books. But we are at the half-hour point. I have been going on about this topic for about a half hour now. Thank you so much to everyone who popped in and gave us a watch. Thanks to everyone in the chat who participated with your questions and with your comments. I do absolutely appreciate it. And I look forward to being back at it next Friday, same time, same location. But until then, may you all blessed be.